There we go. All right, let's attempt this again. Oh, gosh. And we'll get into it as the market opens up and things like that, but we do have daily expected moves posted in the bottom right corner. Sorry about that. I couldn't read chat, so I had to delete out for a second. And my mic wasn't working, so I had to redo that. Yeah, we have daily expected moves in the bottom right corner. Just some things to pay attention to. Still that 590 call wall. Really, to get bullish, just anything above 610 should be pretty bullish. But what I was overall talking about was I'm watching out for traps up to the upside. I just feel like as the daily, and thank you guys for saying hello so I could see the chat there. It's working good now. The daily hasn't crossed down. Like, notice that this refuses to cross down. So if we're going to head up, I actually think we need to do that right now. Right, Finn? And thank you, good morning. So if this wants to continue in that upward direction, that's fine. I'm just gonna watch for any kind of reversal signal I see here. But also I need to watch today and be like, today's a very important day. What if today ends like this, down, that will be crossing down the MACD. If today ends up, then that would unconfirm, right? This wouldn't be confirming at all. So I think you need to see an update here from the spine. If we get that update, you can see that continuation into something like 612, if not carrying into next week and going all the way to a monthly expected move. So we'll see if that can take place or if there's some kind of little trap set up. That's what I'm going to be paying attention to for the most part over the next few sessions. Hello. But for now, the 30-minute is turned up. The 2-hour is turned down, okay? So that would mean the 30-minute is saying, hey, let's take back the 5 and go to 608.18. The 2-hour is saying, hey, we're going to reject right now. So we're going to see if we can hold this 5, but the 2-hour is pointing in that downward direction still. Not able to take those levels back just yet. Break through this, though, a test of there looks very, very likely. Yeah, there's just that tariff news that's always on an edge. Your stream shows too. Yeah, just try to click on the one where I'm actually talking. It the first one failed, and I can delete that one. That way no one's confused. Let me get this deleted. It's just that we had a mess up on the first one. Then let me fix some stuff here. I gotta fix the title. The title doesn't make sense. Whatever, I'm just putting PPI in it. Ooh. Fancy. Alrighty. Now, so there are some interesting things going on. I mean, we do have still AMC able to hold the upside, able to get past that move. This is fantastic for AMC. GME not following, though, and that's a bad thing. You really wanted this to follow. Now heading in the downward direction, that's not the best sign for GME. Remember, above this line is where the fight really begins. It was a great fight, though. They did, fantastic job pushing this higher. Then all that stopped it was that 30-minute was able to confirm back down, right? When that 30 minutes able to confirm down, you kind of know, like, hey, especially if we do something like this, you gap below that 26.39. 26.39 would have been the support, but notice we gap below it, start to use as resistance, so that's unfortunate. But AMC is still trying to do the thing. That's great. Keep it going, AMC. Yeah, the market is able to shake off most bad news. It seems like every dip will be caught. That's why I really want to pay attention for a trap somewhere. Like, after this is done, you really want to see which way this thing like breaks, right? If we cross down, I'm going to be like, okay, downside. But if we stay remaining up, I think we might break out. Maybe retest, go again, and then we see some kind of trap to the upside. So we'll see. Still waiting. 2 hours curled down, 30 minutes curled up. It's just not positive yet. BB still ripping? Hey, nice. What was I planning on doing for Valentine's Day? Well, I'm supposed to take her to a nice dinner. She really likes fancy food, so I think I'm going to take her for some fancy food. That's if we can get a sitter, though. Weirdly enough, everyone that babysits for us has gotten, like, sick recently. So it kind of sucks. That's probably, if you noticed, I haven't been able to make videos very often. Well, that's part of the problem there. Is my wife nearby? Yeah, she's right upstairs. She's hanging out. They're watching their little Spanish cartoons. Here it comes, the open. Oh, we're trying to go positive. What's gonna happen here? Go look over at volatility for a second. Nothing really too much to look at this moment. I mean, you can try to say divergence or something, but it's not going to be on the RSI at all. So there's no real reversals here, just more of a, hey, the 2 hour has crossed back down. Be aware if that crosses back up, but you can see how we can end up doing what? Coiling up again. Remember we were talking about coiling up? We kind of just drew this very briefly, right? And we were like, yeah, we want that to coil up and get tight in here and then break loose. I think that would be amazing. So that would be overall good, I think, for volatility, I think, to dip down to these levels. So that's why I'm looking for that upside move. V-Day treat. I mean, oh my goodness, Richard with the 5 hundo. Now I don't have an excuse not to take her to a nice... Yo, you did not have to do that. That's a lot. That's a lot. But thank you so much. That is so fucking nice. That is so nice. Thank you so much. Did you mean to did you need me to send you 450 back? Did you move the 0 too many places? Can we all get some love for Richard in the chat? Thank you so much, Richard. Holy crap. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like I'm like, do I take her to a nice dinner or do I buy GME with that? You know what I mean? No, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Yeah, now I have no excuse, right, Richard? Now I have no excuse. No, thank you so much, but I'll try not to be too excited. I'll try to stay on topic, but thank you so much. I know you guys work hard for your money, so thank you so much to that $500. And even if you give $5, guys, I'm still gonna thank you, just like it's $500. But thank you so much. I'll send Richard the info. Oh, that's so awesome. But yeah, with volatility, remember we were talking about this kind of getting these medium swing, right? Now we get a small one, then it breaks into a potentially big one, right? It's kind of like the cycle, right? You get a big one, you get the middle time, or you get a little one, you get a small one, and then you go back into a big one. So is that going to be big up or big down? Well, I think the way we can figure out if it's going to be big up is if we make a little divergence point here with these lows now. I think that's definitely possible, as you have shown this right here. Very possible to see that. So we'll see if that first move is the right one, and then we'll go from there. The SPY as of right now in that upward direction, so this would mean a daily upside move, seems to be the most probable at this point. Should I go up or below on the SPY chart? Well, on Wall Street bets. As of right now, I think a lot of things would say, like, just if you're using common sense and you're like, okay, we haven't broken down. We have seen this 30-minute try to coil up. We're still in the bullish channel. Most things would still lean towards bull side activity. Ah, dang it, Willow. That's too bad. Most like times, this would just play out to the upside. It's just that lingering effect with tariffs and everything like that. But most of the time, this would just go set a trap to the upside. Like, that's what it seems like to me. But I'm just going to be aware because we've built a lot of liquidity here. So if we build all that liquidity and then we just see a drop, that's going to be a bad thing. So because we've built up in this, it's kind of like this, right? It's kind of like this back here. This back here, we built up in this area for a while. And then what happened? A bad thing. So now you're at a time where you're building up in this area for a long time. And so is a bad thing going to happen? That's the only thing I'm aware of at this point. You have a ton of stuff in here. What happens when you get a ton of stuff down here and playing around in these areas, bouncing back and forth? You get a snap. So I'm saying, are we going to get that snap in this direction? And then is that just going to be a trap? Or are we going to see this actually snap in this direction? And we're actually going to see a confirmation of this divergence that the SPY does have on the MACD and the RSI at the same time. Are we going to see that? So you see how you're like, yeah, if we're just in a bullish market and this doesn't have any tariff talk or anything along the line and things aren't very unsure or uneasy, this seems like, yeah, we're building up in this area. We're going to see that continuation. It's some kind of continuation at this point, right? But because of the state of everything going on and because of how these signals look right now, you have to be very aware if this daily just crosses down. Because if the daily crosses down, that actually would suggest not only that you're going to head to a weekly, and we want to pay attention in case there's a trap there and it turns back up, but if this crosses down, you're actually leaning towards that monthly expected move. You're leaning towards a test of the low from January 13th. Right? And that doesn't mean you could be done, right? That doesn't mean it has to be done either. If that's going to be a serious corrective move, you could get some kind of bounce and then end up turning down one more time and actually distributing that all the way into March. So that's the worrisome thing, and that's why I'm kind of being cautious with this overall. It's kind of like, you guys know those periods of time. I'm cautious, then I make a decision. I'm cautious, then I make a decision. I'm cautious, then I make a decision. Well, right now it was a couple decisions maybe could have been made, but I'm being cautious until I need to make a decision. I'm being cautious until I need to make a decision. So we still have some plays out there. It's just they're not going to be big plays until I see a pretty good argument for, hey, this is heading to the upside. And I think that's, you got to take out like 610 to really say like 620 is a thing. IWM and DIA are dumping. DIA falling back down. See, this almost just looks like flagging to me as well, though. If you really look at how this is, I know that it got a little more extreme, but if you wanted to, you could even say this or just this and just be like, okay, that's flagging. If that crosses up, that's going to be a good thing, right? We have not necessarily, you violated the low, so that's serious, and you have confirmed down saying that, hey, a lower low makes a lot of sense, but you're holding up very well. So you got to be careful with it. IWM, I think, a little more risky, but still just sideways. It's just sideways, really. Like, look at the range we're in, that 229.89 to 222.60. We are just in there, right? We're stuck in between our, now, I guess, resistance line and a support line, right? These are two levels that we marked off a while back, and now we're just sitting in between both. So it's like, are these retests in these areas going to prove to upside? Well, if that 2 hour confirms up, I think now would be the time where it would really want to try to make that run. But it's not curling up. The daily's curling down on a negative bar. That's bad. The DIA curling down on a negative bar right here. So you have more arguments that this could be something worrisome. And that's why I don't think it's like smart to just throw all my money into calls or something. I think there is a serious risk here. And if I just wait a little bit longer, things will get a little bit easier to actually trade. What's the probability of stocks coming back into the weekly expected move once they have crossed? 68%. So if they are through, so if the SPY is, say, here, but you want to take into consideration, something to take into consideration with those percentages is time, right? How much time do I have until that expiration? Because if I'm seeing a weekly move on a Monday or let's just say a Monday or a Tuesday, right? We're there. Well, then by the end of the week, it's very obvious that, hey, we could do that. With 3 days worth of price action, we could do that. You know, we're going to come back into that range, right? That's usually how I take it. If it's on Monday, Tuesday, or even Wednesday, I'll more so read into it. Once it starts to happen Thursday, Friday, I go, okay, but is this an actual trade, or is this just going to like end Friday in this area, right? We go like this real quick, and then it ends up turning back up later on, right? But if it's on a big move on a Monday or Tuesday, you have a lot of time to get all the way back down. But this would still be a 68% zone, no matter what the time is, it's 68%. I'm just talking about how to actually read into it, utilizing that knowledge of, hey, there is an expiration on Friday, this will change, and then there's a 32% chance to land outside of it. So as Apple or something goes outside of it, I first go, what day is it? That's the first thing I think of. I go, what day is it? And I go, okay, it's say it's Thursday. Okay, well, what reversal signal do I see? Oh, a 30-minute divergence. Okay, then that's going to be a 2-hour pullback, and we could pull back into those moves, but I would know, hey, that most likely will just be a pullback. So if you look at something like Apple and you look at this 30-minute and you see how extended that is, and then you go, okay, what do I have? I have potential divergences. I don't think they're the best looking divergence. So right away, I just go, oh, this could only be a 30-minute pullback. And if my range area is right here and I have a 68% chance to cross through that white line by Friday, I think it's very likely we see that, but that could just hold up and then see a move on Friday that closes you outside. Right? It's not a for sure thing, but it's saying, is there an actual trade here right now? Well, you would say if you're someone who really wants to go to the short side, then that's probably the place to potentially do it. But you have overall created a low, higher lows, and now you're heading to the upside. So this could just be a brief 30-minute pullback that turns back up, turns back up, turns back up until that needs a 2-hour pullback later. So do you see it's less about, hey, it's less about, hey, am I seeing a move outside of the weekly expected move? It's more about, hey, am I seeing a move outside of the weekly expected move and there is some kind of setup, there is something to make money off of. That's got to be an important point. You got to be paying attention to opportunities, not just did this thing happen. Paying attention to opportunities is a lot better. But this is what utilizing the weekly expected moves can do, because a lot of the times it won't be this complicated. You're going to see like this type of thing happen, right? What day was this? This was going into a Friday. You do this. Okay, going into a Friday, you do this. Well, if that 2-hour turns up, you're going to see positivity, right? We're making that 30-minute divergences as well in these areas, and we're going to turn up. Okay, then I can target whatever this move, however long that takes. Once it actually triggers, I can target the next weekly expected move. Okay, we see that cross up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Monday we go into Friday of next week, and boom, maybe I tag that. Right? It's much simpler when you just have something simple around it, and you don't have simple things right now, which is unfortunate. Yeah, instant defense, and it's just a bad timing for that. It just goes, hey, maybe it's not my best utilization of time, right? If you really think about it, and I was watching some movie with my wife, and I was thinking about something, and I was just going, it's so weird, but this movie we were watching allowed people to, or at least the topic we were talking about, allowed me to think like, oh, okay, so this would allow for utilization of time. And really what separates successful human beings from unsuccessful ones is just how they utilize time, right? Even little things like, hey, maybe instead of watching a TV show, they read their book, right? Little things like that do matter. And so like, if you're going to utilize your time right now and you're trying to invest in stocks and you go, hey, this looks like a shitty time to invest, okay, then utilize that time differently. Make that stack bigger, right? Before I invest, make it bigger. No, I was not watching Dumb Money again. No. Successful people enable more opportunities to fail than everyone else. Exactly. You could be like, okay, this might take a year to correct, or I will probably, there's a high probability to see at least a 10% correction this year. Okay. Is that more likely to happen early on with how things look? I think so. In the first half of 2025, I think for sure. So you might just say, okay, well, I'm going to work for 6 months and stack some money. That way I can invest more later on. Right? If I don't risk any money, I have a chance to lose nothing, and I could just grow that money myself by saving a couple $100 a month, and then in 6 months I'll have an extra, say, $1,200 to add to maybe my 10 grand or something if I'm starting out, and then I have 11,200, and I go, ooh, Nvidia looks like a weekly divergence is there. And I go, okay, cool. Nvidia sounds good. Make 50% on that. Don't even have to do an option play. It probably goes up 50%. Or maybe you get even luckier and Bitcoin just saw some kind of massive drop, and you have weekly divergence there as at the same time as the SPY and the Qs, and you go, hey, this looks like everything's about to go in an uptrend. Right? It's just about, I think part of it is like when people are trying to time the market, it's like you can time the market. It's just you have to actually be thinking in the big picture, I think. It's impossible to time the market. Well, tell that to our calls our sell, our sell, our calls, our sell. Well, you know, you can do it. It's just, are you going to take every single thing that you think is an opportunity, or are you only going to take the ones that have 5 reasons behind them? Right? That's I think the big difference there is, like, if I want to make money quicker, I have to take a bunch of little, probably 3 reasons to take a trade. If I don't need to, and people probably think that about me, they're like, hey, you don't trade too much. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm looking for this most of the time. Right? If I'm doing some kind of little 3 play, it's not going to be a bunch of money. I'm looking for the 5. I'm looking for the one that's going to play out. Right? And to me, at this moment, that would be, if the 2 hour can confirm back up, then I would say we're potentially going to head to higher levels. But I'm just worried about the daily crossing down right now. So I don't think there's enough. There are too many risk reasons right now for me to really jump on the bull train just yet. Oh God, Palantir's got a Head and Shoulders. Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. It looks like a mixed bag, and I love that AMC goes negative and GME goes positive. That's fun. What was this? It was Palantir. As far as Palantir goes, I don't think you really have Head and Shoulders, but you're going to have that third push. So this is the one that tricks a lot of people. Okay, this is the one that tricks a lot of people. Notice that the 2 hour says, hey, we should be pulling back, and it's still curling up. And Palantir's been very good at doing this, right? Tricking you and then getting back on that bull horse. Bull horse, I don't know what that is. Getting back on the bull side, right? So the thing here is, this is that triple move. This is that third move to really get you like, hey, this can't fall down. So you look at this 30-minute, it's so close to the center line, you've held every single divergence point. So if that 30-minute crosses, I think you're going to see this thing drop. I think you're going to see it at least drop back down to $100. So I think you're about to see a pretty sizable little pullback here for a 2 hour chart. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, do I think that's enough for me to take a trade behind? Actually, yes. I think this 30-minute, if that would cross through and cross through that 5, I think that would be enough, and I'd be willing to manage the trade. I actually really like this 30-minute setup. The 2 hour is pretty extended, already crossed down, suggesting the weakness is there. We're seeing it start to taper off kind of to the upside. So if that can pull back, I think that would be great. Two places to look for, potentially $100, and I would obviously say 83.27. It's a hybrid of a bull and a horse, yeah. Wolf's going today? Yeah, Wolf's moving. 10% up as of right now. I don't remember if I made things for Wolf. I can't remember. Hold on, let me see if I have one for Wolf. I always plug that guy in. So Wolf needs to break through, I think I have it. Yeah, there it is. I do have it. 143 implied volatility for the week. Got a dollar move. 623. 623 is what you got to break through for Wolf to really get on the bull side. Like, to really, really see some good stuff to the upside, yeah, you're going to have to see that, that breakthrough. Okay, so that's where you're seeing that little Head and Shoulders potentially. Yeah, so that 100 level, I mean, I'm sure it's not 100 on the dot. It's just I like to say 100 on the dot because people gravitate to those big numbers. All right, and I'm going to use the restroom and go tell wifey that Richard said I have to take her on a big date now. So I'll be right back. And then we'll talk about it, Knives. Bring it up again in a moment. Okay, I'll be right back. Of course, you know, she's like, yes. She acts like I never take her to do nice things. She acts like I never do. She's like, oh, finally, I get to get out of this house. I'm like, what? Like, what? Yeah, we'll look at MSOS in a second. As far as tariff talk goes, I think tariffs are something that you have to be listening to. I think you want to be aware of that. I'm just being genuine there. I think you got to be slightly aware of the tariff things going on. And not so much aware as in like be tracking news all the time, but be watching your signals closely. I mean, this is crazy for the 10-year to just go that high up and then just drop completely off. The dollar to go that high up and just drop completely off. And then don't sleep on this either, right? Don't sleep on this guy either. I mean, we're looking for that weekly. And that weekly is crossing up. It's just on a negative bar right now. But you're starting to get this from the JPY, and it's like, that's a little bit risky. Just a tidbit. It's just something like, hey, that's something I need to be aware of. So if there's some big tariff, you know, I think they're doing stuff like every single day. They're kind of giving a talk at like 1. So it's like, okay, at 1, I should probably be tuning in. And then it was, what, MSOS? I mean, you could just say 2-hour pullback for the higher low. That's probably the simplest way to put it. I don't think you have like much. You have like 30-minute divergence here trying to form. I think it's there actually. I think you have 30-minute divergence here for MSOS, and I think this might be that next 2-hour move higher. So if you can get good confirmation that's taking back the 5, I think you got a little run here. Now it is negative, so be aware if that fails rather quickly, right? But I'd say if you close above these levels, you know, you're able to really bounce off that 5. It looks pretty good. I think you have 30-minute floor trying to show its face there. As far as Microsoft goes, Microsoft is interesting because this is one of the ones that I'm very intrigued by. Microsoft and Google are two that I'm very intrigued by right now because they are showing a ton of 30-minute divergence down here. A ton of it. Okay, so if we read into this and we see Microsoft with that 30-minute divergence, that might make the next 2-hour move higher, and it might even be a rejection divergence. So hey, maybe that daily's actually able to curl. Are we going to go for a run here? And then you look over at something like Google and you go, wow, that looks really bad. It's getting down by our 182.59, so we want to see our divergences popping up, and they are there. So you have divergences popping up for Google. You have divergences popping up for Microsoft. And I really just wanted to see, you know, are these by weekly expected moves and things like that as well. I think that helps you out a ton in knowing that. And then you look at it and you go, okay, Google, are you by a move? No, it has a little bit more room to the downside. Then you look at Microsoft and you go, okay, 407.65, are you by a move? No, I have more downside. It's like, even though these stocks are showing these reversal signals, they're not giving us that extra hint by, you know, seeing the bearishness step in a little too much, getting to those downside weekly expected moves, which kind of means that we're open to another drop in the market, which is just a rough time to be, right? It's just a rough thing to have right now. And then you have other stocks like, and then you have the mixed bag situation where it's like Meta. You have Meta that is saying like, hey, I'm up and up and up and up and up, but I need to pull back at some point, guys. Like, I need to pull back. That's what I really think I hear from Meta right now. Now, it's like I said, this is going to be very difficult to short, right? Very difficult. And I feel like whenever I say it's difficult, everyone wants to trade it. It's like, I'm going to do it because I think it's fun, but I'd say if you're not seasoned at it, Meta would be a very difficult short. AMC 350. Not crossing back down yet. GME. Do the thing, dog. Come on, man. Gold. I think gold's a super interesting one as well. I think gold is really interesting. Getting that 2 hour to confirm up. I think you have a period of consolidation coming for gold. I just think you do at this point. You're finally getting an actual like dramatic downward move here for the MACD and RSI. Not necessarily divergence, you notice that, right? But actually it's close enough that you would potentially be like, yeah, I'm gonna give it to it. I'm gonna give it to it and say that's divergence. So if that crosses down on the 2 hour, I think gold's gonna give up. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean we're gonna get a big reaction from the dollar? Because when the dollar goes up, gold doesn't like that. Are we going to get a big reaction from the dollar? Well, the dollar's not that far off from seeing something good. It just needs that 4 hour to confirm up. Remember yesterday when we were pointing it out, hey, watch if that 4 hour confirms up? Well, it gave up that entire bar, right? It gave up that entire bar. This is right before we stopped streaming, right? We said, hey, look, that thing's popping up. It gave up that entire thing and ended up still going down. It never confirmed up on the MACD or the RSI or the price action. So what you're looking for is if that curls up, that could be a higher low, right? Low, higher low maybe, right? Maybe it's just trying to solidify itself. It could be something bad, right? That's the situation we're in right now. It's very, I want to say it's almost 50-50 right now if we're going to drop or we're going to pop. And so I think that's why we're going to get more rip around kind of behavior, because I just think we have that that confusion is still there. And I feel it in myself, right? I think this is slightly confusing. But every once in a while, it'll get confusing, and then it'll get a little hint. And then you get a little hint. And then you end up with 5 reasons to take a trade, and that's it. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to wait to place big money, right? We're still doing some stuff with Meta. We're still doing some stuff with the SPY, but I'm just going to play with some smaller amounts. And I know we've had to say that a lot lately. Use small size if you want. It will come down to need to be able to handle any further upside. Exactly, Jacket. You got to be able to spread out that expiration, and you got to be like, okay, I need to know that I'm potentially taking something that can end up going higher. AM Dizzle. We haven't looked at AMD in a minute, but I mean, this is good. I mean, this is good. You get above the 5. Yeah, it loses it, but overall, you're still sticking to it. You see that curl up, and now you get that positivity. No divergence in sight, so anything here would most likely be pullback. Now, if that 2 hour crosses, you know immediately that's bad, right? Because if the 2 hour crosses all of a sudden in the next trading session or two, well, that's going to be 2 big red bars like this. You're gonna kind of know, like, hey, that's kind of bad, okay? But no real, I mean, just divergence on the RSI here. So this can turn up daily charts though, and you're seeing that daily start to curl up, and that has divergence. So this tells you that AMD could be about to go for some kind of run. Nvidia has earnings next week, but this is saying AMD could go for a run here. I don't think it looks bad by any means. I need to still keep track of my weekly and my monthly expected moves. If that's going to be a big daily move, what could I target for AMD? Well, if that confirms, I could potentially target an upside monthly move because that's a daily signal. Look for AMD real quick. Was this on Friday? See, and then you're running your head into something here, right? If you're on Patreon, you know what's up there. There's something above you right now that could be a problem. Now, if you break through that, you can see something crazy. But I'm just telling you for the week, you have a 30 minute starting to go overbought. Hey, that's fine. If I want to leave runners and things, okay. But just note that you're reaching a key level. You're above a key level right now. That says you might have some percentages, more percentages to drop down on Friday instead of go up. That's all. And if you're, if saying that scares you, it really shouldn't. It should say, if anything goes wrong at this point right here, I need to make sure to manage risk. That's it. It's like, I can still be in this. I could maybe sell some to keep some runners. But overall, I need to understand there is a risky thing right here that's giving me a hint. So if something starts to go wrong, I need to be ready to react. And maybe part of that reaction is right away just being like, I want to make some money in the move. Leave some of those, maybe leave a bunch of runners. And then sit there and go, okay, did this curl back down? Did this unconfirm? Did it see resistance here? Because we're at a very key level, according to the Patreon, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, but if you can just make better decisions, right? That's all it is. Maybe I already doubled my AMD position with that. I don't know. It already went to a key level. Okay, now you need a portfolio drop from the kitty. That would make today super fun. Yeah, so volatility is showing me more and more that this 2 hour really looks like it wants to go tag that 1504 again. This 2 hour really looks like it wants to get here again. As we've broken these lows, doesn't it just look like, hey, let's go to here, let's test there. If we're gonna get a reaction, it'll probably be here. Probably not here, it'll probably be here, which means what? It means the SPY might do something fishy here. All right, and I want you to be just aware of things like this happening. Things like this happening, okay? Be very aware of that right now. Because something is weird there. You have the dollar that's still on a 4 hour pullback. You have volatility that's coiling up. And you have the SPY that's saying, yeah, we're doing this. We're going to break out. And we might want to watch out just in case something goes wrong. That's all. Tomorrow we will get retail sales, supposed to come in at negative 0.1 or 0%. That's what we have for there. And the previous was positive 0.4. Positive 0.4 was what we were at there. Yield super interesting. Getting a retest as of now, not able to curl down on a 4 hour. Seeing the 2 hour go reach for the 5-day moving average at this moment. Volatility still remaining positive. The VIX 9-day though starting to turn down, but create a bunch of little 30-minute divergences. I don't know if that's really divergence there actually. Ooh, you violated it just barely. Wolfie boy up 10%. Very nice. Target was 1,000 easy. Nice. Yeah, it still could get to like Meta could get all the way to 750. I think 750 is where you're like, okay, now you're just absurd. Like, that's where I think the real like risky one is. If we could turn down here, I think it'd just be a pullback. If we start to expose ourselves to 750, I think you're about to maybe see a waterfall moment. I don't think that, like, I think you just open the door for flash crashes and things. But it's very nice. I mean, don't you know, following the trend much easier, right, Mr. Pickle? Right, you see that curl up on a daily, you go, okay, and then you just hold on to that bad boy for a while. Too uncertain? Hey, that's fine, Samson. Whatever you got to do to be comfortable, right? Part of the game. Got to be comfortable while trading. If I'm in a trade I'm not comfortable with, I'm not very happy with it. PCC coming in at 0.83. Yesterday, the CPC posted at 0.85. We are seeing that slight shift to the bear side now. Just a slight shift. It's not necessarily a bear side. It's more like, hey, okay, we were down here with all the calls. Then we saw that start to shift up into neutral now. And now we're looking for, does something bad happen that shifts people to bearish? That's kind of what we're looking for at this moment. Yeah, it's fishy, but I mean, the move's pretty real. I mean, you have HGX seeing the upward move, starting to give it up a little bit, HYG making the upward move, you have the dollar coming down, you have the 10-year yield coming down. So upside makes sense. But XLU, are you gonna make finally solidify a lower high here? Interesting. Did MSTR sorry, I punched the mic. MSTR, didn't that have some reversal signals? Yeah, just the 2 hour divergence. See a top in the dollar with hot inflation. I mean, this potentially could be. I actually think the dollar will make another move higher. Personally, that's what I think will happen. Now, whether that needs to come down to lower levels first, that's up in the air. But I think eventually we're going to see the dollar turn up, and I think it could be I think it could be sooner rather than later. That's the way I see it. For some reason, like maybe it's just like looking at charts for a while, but my gut looks at this and just goes, this is not going to be an obvious upside move just yet. I think we still have some things to keep in consideration as far as risk goes. And that's kind of crazy because that's how a lot of the second half, even some of the first half of 2024 was actually, but this is much more the price action is confusing as well, right? People seem confused. It's very back and forth. So I just think we have to be prepared for that. And we are, right? That's why it's nice to have weekly expected moves. Trust, weekly expected moves. They're going to be so helpful in 2025. It's going to be insane. So I don't know if it's necessarily a top. As of right now, it would say, yes, I'm trying to be a top. Because you haven't seen that daily confirm up again. But that monthly triggered, and I think that monthly triggered for a reason. Tariff news, I think, comes at like 1 o'clock or something. That's what someone was saying. Trump teases his next tariff announcement. Today is the big one. Let's go see what Barron's is saying about this. Reciprocal tariffs, the next major escalation is global trade. The president said on Truth Social this morning that today is the big one, reciprocal tariffs, adding that he'll sign the order at 1 p.m. So right after lunch, I'd be prepared for the market to react to something. You know, okay, so, and if a reciprocal tariff strategy is pursued instead of a universal 10% tariff on all countries, it could lead to a smaller rise in the overall effective tariff rate than we have assumed. He added that while most developed market economies would be relatively unscathed by reciprocal tariffs, emerging markets like India, Brazil, and Turkey are the most exposed. Goldman Sachs Group is saying that, and these countries were doing this, by the way, so they are correct to point this out, saying that countries might look to strike deals to lessen the reciprocal tariffs. There were countries like Brazil, I don't know if I saw Turkey, but like Brazil, that were already working on how they were going to go back and forth with Trump on tariffs or what they were going to offer to Trump with tariffs. They were already discussing that before this even happened. So, but it looks like we'll actually find out. And here's the thing about the stock market. The stock market has largely shrugged off Trump's tariff announcement up to now. On Wednesday, we ended just 1% off its highest closing level. So they're still talking about it pretty bullishly, but we'll see what happens here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of that info. Can you say reciprocal? Be wailing in this chat. Yeah, sure. Hey, I really do appreciate it, Richard, and thank you for shouting out the educational side, because that's the main thing, right? We're just talking about decisions and why right now you see that even at 1 p.m. we have something crazy, and you don't necessarily want to mess around with this market too much right now, right? I don't want to make some kind of massive decision. There will be a big move, so I want to be in the trade, right? I want to be in the trade. But I want to make sure that I'm in the right side of that trade or using a smaller position size, because I think we're going to get a big move and I don't think people will expect it. So do we confirm down and we see that big move down, or do we confirm this back up on, say, a 2 hour and then we start to head to upside? So I think we'll actually find out. I think tariff could be something really important to pay attention to. On sends. Let's see. Ooh, oh, okay, but you are forming some stuff here. This is where you start to get worried. You have triple divergence now on the daily. You actually see it on the MACD. Now this could continue to be positive, right? It can keep going for a while. You're starting to see 30-minute divergence pop up. 2 hour. I don't think you're holding the 2 hour divergence across, are you? Ooh, you kind of are. So this is a good one though. Congratulations. Good trade. Right? Easy little 2 hour curl up. Okay, we see this good bar and we go, all right, we're going to test that high and go make a new one. You break through the high, get a little retest in here and then head up a little bit more. I think it's nice. I think it's a nice little setup, right? But you have to be aware that this could need a 2 hour pullback right away. This could need a 30-minute pullback right away. This could actually be some kind of trap because of the daily chart. So very, very nice trade though. And now you have to worry about risk. Down here, you're like, risk isn't that bad. Up here, you're like, risk is starting to get bad. Well, yeah, if you want to look at the tariff pattern, you would say, well, it's going to be some kind of news, right? I just think it's very unlikely that he's going to announce tariffs and you're not going to see that 10-year yield bounce up. Yeah, I'm still holding on to my puts for the SPY. I'm chilling on them. They bled, they started to bleed now. But they ain't gonna be that bad. Sometimes you gotta at least have some money where your mouth is, you know? So that's where I really, truly think this market will end up. If not, that's fine. Who cares? There's always another trade. Oh, there's always a bigger fish. Well, it depends, laws, right? It depends on how much control of markets you think like market makers and stuff actually have. Because if you assume that they have a bunch of control, then they can make the market look better than it is by risking some money, right? They manipulate by risking money still, but they could potentially, you know, shift things to dark pools so these sell orders don't hit, and then all of a sudden they start to come in after hours. So that's just the kind of market we're in right now, but we'll most likely see something. I don't know. I feel like they'd want to hold the market higher until that tariff news, get as many calls into this market as possible. But you're seeing that shift too. So they are succeeding, I think, in the overall goal. I think they're trying to shift more people to the call side. And if that happens, that's fine, right? We're still waiting to see which way this thing can break, but for the time being, I think that would be my goal if I was someone trying to trap people. Yeah, see, a tax cut, something they would celebrate would be tax cuts. Obviously, deregulation, I think a lot of things would really, really like that. Yeah, I think you would really, really like that. So. All right, let me go look at some stiff real quick here. Dollar still dropping off. HYG looking good. HGX a little bit of a fumble. Volatility trying to hold up. I think it's very likely to see volatility. So maybe one upward move makes sense here. Q's left behind a gap. Oof, Q's left behind a gap. Of course you did. IWM left behind a little bit of a gap. DIA tried to fill that gap. They might have. PLT with a big snap. What's the 10-year yield look like on this? All right, just a 2 hour pullback for the 10-year yield. You need some tin foil to dive into? Hell yeah, let's go, Jari. I like me some tin foil. Eloy, the strike I took was next Friday for, what was it? It was 597. Yeah, I wanted to take something above 590. So, and 597 was looking pretty good, honestly. GME and MSTR Bitcoin buy and GME tokenized. Why would they? I think like, isn't that what kind of like hurt AMC was when they like wasn't like I don't know, maybe I don't know enough about it, but I'm pretty sure when like what was it, Ape or whatever came out, that actually did more damage to AMC than helped it. But maybe I'm in the wrong lane there. Tesla getting a snapback reaction. Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh yeah, I'm super excited for that. Even Amazon showing 30-minute divergence as well. So you have a lot of divergence, which is really leading towards, we're going to see another upside move. Definitely possible with how Microsoft is looking, how Amazon is looking, right? So let's click through. So Tesla bottoming, look at that. Okay, 2 hour curling up, might continue to go, right? Maybe we'll see. That's some pretty good pressure there. Amazon, we'll notice that it's making this little floor. Do you see the 2 hour divergence there? Well, there's 30-minute divergence all across this thing. So that could see some kind of upward reaction. Then we go over to something like Nvidia. It's like, hey, that thing's still building up over time. AMD's making that bottoming structure, curling up the daily chart. That could see a bounce. It's like, do you see how today is such an important day? If we continue to see positivity, good things, Meta is the one saying the opposite. But then you go look at Microsoft and you're like, okay, 30-minute divergence all across this. Google, 30-minute divergence across this. So a lot of things look like they could catch a bounce while some things look like they could be dropping. But these bounces, these areas where they're trying to bounce aren't at like weekly support levels, weekly expected moves, anything like that for a lot of these stocks. So it's just very interesting to me that that is happening because it just goes, okay, it's slightly mixed. I would say still leaning towards if we see all of these confirm, we're going to see upside for the SPY and the Qs. Those are very big stocks. But it's, do those actually fail those moves? And maybe Meta is right. So we're paying attention to it. Like I said, I think most of the time you would lean towards the bull side with how this looks. But I just want to be aware how this ends by the end of the day. Of course, Eli. Now, Eli, I am thinking about reacting to that. If this 2 hour crosses up, I'm not necessarily giddy to be in shorts anymore. You know, I think I was playing it for this, seeing if that would continue. It didn't continue, so if that 2 hour confirms up, I gotta be cautious with it. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'll be right back. coffee got me. God dang. All right, let's see. Jump scare. So kind of just want to see like what things are going to confirm this. So Microsoft not, Google not really the best confirmation there. And then it was Amazon, and we're not seeing too much positivity from those. So those are ones I'll keep my eye on. Lasted for 6 minutes, Samson. Oh, that's great. Well, I'm just thinking like, how this would like to go. Because if we break out and go to the upside, I'm really thinking like this could be a weekend trap. If we would break down, I think that would be less confusing if we broke down, actually. But we'll see. And click on some other stuff. Amazon seeing a little bit of positivity, trying to curl up. I think VIX has that good opportunity to go down to 1504, so I think he got like 40 points down from there. All right, see this come down into here, show that 2 hours, see if it holds the divergence point. I think that would be great. As of right now, that 30-minute reaching up, so the shorter time frame being right for now. Are they so strong? Well, that's why I'm like, this could be some kind of trap. But you're not seeing that. The dollar is just pulling down. But maybe it's not in consideration. Now, this was hinted yesterday if you were paying attention to oil. I believe it was oil. If you paid attention to oil throughout Tuesday and Wednesday, you can see that coming down. Well, this is reacting a lot with the dollar and the 10-year. So when the 10-year was up, this was kind of a hint of like, hey, the 10-year could drop off. With an all-morning Mac tea in the green is always fun. Told you, man, Meta's gonna be the hard one. Oh, look at that. Meta's trying to stay up again. Yeah. Hey, I can always return it to you, I think. I think I can. No backsies. The reason the monthly and the weekly expected to move by Friday, that set up would be nice. Exactly, Samson. See, that's when you get like 7 reasons for a trade. Especially if there's like divergence and stuff set up there, that would be nice. Yeah, Wolf with a nice move. Yeah, you got some volume yesterday. We shall see. Oh, that's what's surprising. If you just didn't have that CPI, you probably would have already broken out to the upside. You'd probably already be at 612.55. And then that would be a pullback trap, and then you'd end up going to the upside again, maybe. I don't know if perma bears have really shown up. I mean, at least we don't see that in like the CPC or something. You see much more readings of downside or of call side activity. This is calls in neutral in the recent time. So I don't think you really have that super bear side activity. You're not even in extreme fear. So I just think that's incorrect. I'm not saying you can't head to the upside. I just don't think it's like, because if you say that, then you're saying we're probably about to see like a 9-day squeeze to the upside to like 630. If you're saying that people are completely over leveraged to the bear side. I still think upside makes the most like simple sense, but I just think there's risks. But I wish you luck. Exactly. It's like there's no reason really to place big bearish bets right now, and I don't think people are. Like, we're not even seeing intraday, we're not even seeing the PCC really go ballistic at all. We're just seeing regular little touches to the bear side. I just don't think that's correct. Now, this is a lot of build-up, so this can distribute and go higher easily, right? And the trend is very bullish, so it makes the most sense to go bullish. Should I check the Magic 8 Ball? The news is bullish or bearish based on just like what the reaction is after. Right now, you would say, okay, I guess people are bullish with that data in the morning. I don't know if they exactly should be. Yeah, and that's great. Exactly, Mr. Pickle. Yeah, you're pointing out the simple thing, and I think that's good. But I don't see any... I really don't see any bear trap signal, or bull trap signals. I really don't. I do not see, like, bull trap. I don't see the obvious, like, oh, take a ton of shorts. I just don't see it. I don't see it in the data. I see HYG reacting up, HGX reacting up, dollar reacting down, 10-year yield reacting down. People still willing to be bullish, but not overly bullish. It all looks pretty normal, to be honest. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, you're consolidating and you're pretty much at a neutral stance. I mean, I bet if I never go look at it, I bet if I pull up fear and greed right now, it's probably in neutral. That's what I would assume based on the price action. Let's see, I haven't looked at this in a while. There you go. Okay, so yeah, you're in neutral. So I don't think it's like super obvious, and even something as little as that can really clarify, like, yeah, it's probably not that obvious. Seems pretty neutral. World War III trending. No, we don't want World War III. No, 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 no. And all those things lead to good news. Yeah, all of these things say this is a good reaction to the data so far. And you still have an hour left in this bar, though. It doesn't mean you have to go up. And weirdly enough, if people read into it as good news, a lot of the time the market actually tops on good news. But I just think you still have to take into consideration, you're at higher levels, you're consolidating before the all-time high. Like, if you just think of those two things, you want to break through an all-time high or any kind of resistance, well, pile up in front of it and then break through, right? That's all. So you're piling up in front of it. That's why this can be super bullish. But I just think there's risk. And so I think by the end of the day, if this is curled down, I'll probably be saying more downside tomorrow. But it's not. That's the point. That's just something to react to. Oh, Microsoft. Microsoft trying to do it now, trying to finally get those buyers to come in. Meta still doing Meta things. AMD finally hitting that wall. That's the thing we're talking about. AMD getting a little too excited on a Thursday here. And Google turned up. And the dollar meltdown. Now, the dollar does see a reaction down sometimes in crash scenarios. It does see downside first, but at the end of it all, it usually ends up. But it can see a down reaction first, and I just want to keep my eye on this too. I think that'll scale up even more. We'll see. Dollar is absolutely melting down, yes. You were seeing that just completely go that way. Still looking at the 4-hour. Well, as far as IWM goes, I just think it's stuck in that range, looking for a break of like 230, looking for a break of $22. Right? $22 break, hey, you go lower. 230 break, hey, you go higher, potentially to test highs. That's how I see it at this moment. We'll find out. I think right now you're going, okay, a daily expected move. Well, we didn't tag a daily yesterday. Okay, so usually you're tagging like 3 daily expected moves a week, maybe even more. So if this is going to go to a daily expected move, well, right now it would say upside makes the most sense. Oh, dollar, you did not just do this and you're gonna turn around. HYG taking it back. HGX still faulty there. I was doing some housing research for funsies. Let's go, Intel. Do your thing, buddy. NTC, I think this was a daily time frame. Hey, it hit target, 2464. Very nice. Now, this is where I think you run into problems. Anywhere in this area, you would invite consolidation, right? If you kind of take this out and you just go, okay, that's my neckline, this would be very, very nice. And you just get a retest of like $22 and then see that turn back up eventually. Maybe it's a little bit longer like this one, but that would be great for Intel going the way up. See that in the form of a 2-hour pullback, right? 2-hour pulls back, retest off the 5, bam, to the upside. I like it. Good move. Ooh, what kind of tea we drinking? I'm gonna have a tea tonight. Tea sounds very good. Now, what are people talking about here? Some World War III, large-scale social deception. What the heck's this World War III talk about? People are saying that Trump is plunging people into World War III? What? Were you here like a year ago? What? It's like, it seems the opposite to me. Am I not seeing some kind of news that came out? Maybe I didn't see some news. Nah, it's just a bunch of, see, that's the thing, most of the time it's a bunch of friggin' nothing. Interesting. Tomorrow, retail sales. Sunday, we get the JP, Japan GDP. That'll be big. Okay. SPY resistance a little bit higher. A little bit higher. 608. 610 would be really what to watch too, because I believe that's the call wall. Stocks up, dollar down, and crypto traders confused. Well, crypto has been interesting because you got this another curl down. I think that's interesting. What you're ultimately looking for is just, can the daily confirm up, right? If you just sit, wait for that, that's great. But you'll notice the 4-hour starting to curl down again. You don't really like that because you've already made the divergence technically. That little like 2-hour divergence, 4-hour divergence, but it's just not on the RSI. Now you're potentially going to go down even further if this crosses down, so you don't really like that. But once again, just another utilization of that 91.8K. I mean, it's been really, really good. So this looks like a reaction can come. It's just, you know, this low's been tested multiple times. I mean, this low was back in January 9th, and you look at the SPY and you're like, okay, well, that didn't go test levels from January 9th, right? That would be back in this block in here, or these blocks down in here. We haven't gone there yet. So even Bitcoin is saying like, hey, you just got to be a little on edge. But we'll see in 54 minutes if this can confirm up and see something crazy. And we're going to pay attention if it's some kind of trap. And well, if we end up here, especially today, we'll be putting out a Patreon video. And I will have to hop off at 10 a.m., so in about 25 minutes. Gotta get my schedule back in lock, man. I've been everywhere the last few days, so I apologize. I've been kind of everywhere. But thank you guys for sticking with me during the live shows, all right? We're going to try to put out some good videos for you. What's going on with Nvidia? Well, if we look at Nvidia very simply, we're going, okay, this is a great move. It tested 135. That's what we wanted. Now, he said, in order for this to be positive over time, what are you going to need? You're going to need all these reactions off of the 5. This is one of the first times, right? This is one of the first time that's happened. Then we can start to watch for maybe divergence and things like that up at these levels, okay? We'll see where that weekly expected move is because you're a Patreon member. But this is really where I just say, okay, if the 30-minute turns down, that's something going wrong. But right now, everything's going right. So if it's going to be some kind of bull trap, then you're going to most likely see a good one, meaning this 2 hours probably going to be able to confirm up, and then you're going to see it confirm right back down. You're going to go up like this and just go straight down. That's how I would see it. That's how the obvious traps are. You just see like, oh yeah, I confirmed. No, it's just not. It's just done. And then you see a daily confirm at the end of the day, and you're just like, okay, we're heading down, right? The trick was there. Right, it makes a lot of sense if you're crossing up like this, but by the end of the day, you're like this, and then you confirm this signal down. What do you think the goal is if this is now confirmed down? Well, it's probably going to be to head to lower prices. It's probably to take out this low. But right now, I don't think you have that scenario, so it's not necessarily the best thing to talk about. The scenario that you still want to pay attention to, that's what you react to in case it goes wrong. It's all going right now. Yeah, and it might be, what was that, around 6? What the heck was theirs around? 615? I can't remember. Yeah, if they're taking money away from people that way, Dave, though, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, if they're like, hey, we can just rip this away and make a bunch of money on Friday, let's put a bunch of put orders for Friday in there and let it hit the tape and bam, and then it all comes down. They get to make their money right as then maybe you go bearish and then they go back to bullish for Monday, right? It's kind of one of those type of markets. This type of market can be very easy to lose money fast. You can make money fast, but you got to hit that take profit a lot. A 950K transaction on Nvidia just happened. Which direction can you tell? Oh, and market is closed on Monday. You are correct about that. Thank you for mentioning that. In 1 minute, which way did that go? So it went up. I don't know about that. There's, oh my God. It was a buy order. You can tell that. You can tell that was a big buy order. So someone bought a ton of Nvidia. Thanks, Wigglefish. Thank you for mentioning that. That was fun. Now we're seeing that continue. Probably not going to see the same amount of volume. It might be breakout time. Yeah, I think that's the simplest way. So this might be breakout time. We'll see. That's just a 1 minute, guys. Don't get all excited and be like, it's a wedge. That's what you needed. You needed positivity. You're getting positivity. 2 hour confirms up. I just think I'm hesitant. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to switch my plays around. Yeah, cheese chaser, that's kind of why I'm waiting. I'm like, yeah, we're heading to a daily expected move right before we get some kind of drop. Now, that means two things. It's like, hey, if we get good news there, hey, you're in the crazy area, you can really see it pop off. And then it's like the other side is, hey, it's a 68% area, so that could drop off pretty quickly. So it's kind of an interesting timing right now. About time Microsoft moved. Microsoft, I don't think it looks bad either. That's the interesting part. I don't think this looks bad. You're getting confirmation. That's the crazy part. I'd just be paying attention to risk, right? Watching the fact that, hey, we do get some tariff talk in a little bit. Wow! Oh my goodness. Doesn't look bad though. What about Google? Did all these start to perform? Google's starting to curl it up pretty good there. Amazon's starting to curl it up pretty good there. Hasn't confirmed it yet, but you have a bunch of divergences here for bullish trades. So that's how we're going to head higher. PPI bad, CPI bad, market pumps. Exactly. That's why I think you need to be aware of traps. Because if you just look at the data, you're higher on both inflation indications. Time is tariff talk. People are saying 1 p.m. and it says 1 p.m. here on my screen over here. So that's some tariff talk. I think tariffs are priced in as long as they aren't worse than expected. Maybe. Really, they've just caused sideways price action. So people are willing to assume the risk of these tariffs as of right now at the same levels as the all-time high, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of wild to say, but that's how that cookie crumbling right now. Well, that might be the time now. Now would be the time then, I think, Dave. Now would be a great time for that. See that breakout moment, go to all-time highs, set some kind of trap, and then call it a day. I just think you're pretty early. I still think you're a little early on into February for that. That's why I would really like a slight more corrective move for the next week or so. And then we actually turn back up. And it doesn't have to be some kind of big dramatic drop. I just think the timing of it would be better with the monthly expected moves as of right now if you actually curled down. But just because I think that doesn't freaking matter, you know? 2 hours confirming up, so upside, most high potential. And really, if you're just doing this, I'm sure someone is doing this and just going, okay, if it crosses through that, I'm pretty happy. Right? Or they're taking it without the wicks, right? And they're going, all right, if we cross through that, I'm pretty happy. They might be thinking that. But I think we do get some news in a bit, so I'll just be a little bit cautious with it. The game is to make money, and if I don't really have the feeling I can make easy money out of this at the end of it all, even though it really clearly looks like the 2 hour curling up and we're going to break through to the upside, I'm just going to be a little bit more foot off the gas. As this daily chart looks like this, I'm just going to be foot off the gas. I can always wait for the next trade or something, but you can tell in my brain I'm like deciding, do I want to do something here or not? Maybe in 45 minutes I can make a decision. I mean, 6,100 flat pretty much for the SPX. So 6,100 is the daily expected move. It's right there. And 6,100 is a key level 610. How would the market react to the war stop? Just depends. I think people would be happy about it. Less war means less things being destroyed. Less can go wrong, maybe? It really looks like the dollar is trying to top in that area now. I mean, it does. With this type of price action, you're going, okay, it failed the keeping of the 5. Right, the daily, though, we're still just going to be aware of it, but this is starting to break down. So remember, we could go all the way to here first. 106.49 was really where I was looking, so this was kind of early. I thought with this kind of reaction, the drop, we would just see that big boom right there. And instead of seeing the SPY top here, we'd see that almost like pull back and extend, and then just see something simple and break down. But we didn't get that. So this might extend for a little period of time. QQQ is hitting it. QQQ running into that daily. Remember that daily and that weekly, they're right there. So this is where technically we would say, okay, we're pulling our foot slightly off the gas. Where stop means oil will come down. Yeah, it's kind of like we won't have, so you won't have oil pressure anymore. That is a good point. Like the energy pressures might go down. So the inflation of energy could technically go down because you're not utilizing that for something big like a war. Just crazy with that 10-year reaction up yesterday. You're getting just a blatant downward reaction today. Pretty crazy. Even with that PPI, that's kind of wild. I think maybe bond traders are starting to see something here. I'll try to pay attention to tariff talk, though. Nvidia, is it still moving? Hey, it's trying to do the thing. We're aware of 30-minute divergence now. I wonder where that weekly move is. I'm sure it's got some room still. Not a ton of room. Not a ton of room there for Nvidia. We'll see if that can go through. We'll see. I mean, as of now, with how signals are looking, if you're still holding on to a put, even me, myself, I'm still holding on to a put technically. It's just because I want to be sure. I know that this market has been rip around, so I'm going to wait a little bit, hold on to those puts. So even if I had a 600 put or something, I'm just making sure that expiration's further out, and I'm sitting going, okay, if today nothing bad happens with tariffs, then I think we know which way this thing's going. Cheap at Valentine's Day ideas now. Write a full sentimental card. That's what I always like to go to. You go, you pay $2 to $5 for a nice card. You just write the nicest message you've ever written. But I'm also good at writing nice things. Well, Samson, but okay, so what was it? It was like, okay, so now you have to realize just how crazy this is. Like, really. Like genuinely. It's like, okay, so people were always like, we don't want the yields to go up because of inflation. Then people start to talk about the weakness in economy, and right as we get like, oh, inflation's going to pick up, people are scared of it. But then people start to think, oh, well, if inflation's higher and that's less rate cuts, that still means that we won't have to raise rates. So that means economic growth actually will stay kind of steady here. It's still slightly positive. So if we keep it here, we can continue to grow. So that's actually a good thing, and therefore I should buy into stocks. So do you see how I can manipulate myself almost 4 steps away and then come up with something bullish? And I think that's what's happening here, and I think retail will be holding the bag at the end of it. Yeah, I think now people are going to say good things about, oh, you see the economy's not going, we're not going to have a recession. The GDP is going to still be good. The economy is going to still be good. That, right? I think that's what's going on here. And I think big players know, though. I think big players know. I think big players know that, like, hey, 2025 is not the year I want to be messing around. You know, most of the big boys, they're not traders. They're investors, or they're, you know, or if they're traders, they're only traders for, like, plays that last a year or 3. But yeah, Samson, that would be my argument. I would say if I was looking at this and trying to buy, if I just had a bullish brain right now and I was like, I want to buy, if I was convincing myself, I would say, oh, well, things are still good. We're not seeing, say, job data get the most horrible. We're not seeing unemployment rise. Okay, that reading was good. Yeah, we're going to get less rate cuts, but at least we're not going to go into recession, which means we can still grow, right? I can manipulate it. If we sell our puts, the market tanks. We don't have a group pool together. It's not our puts. Yeah, but I don't think... the one thing I would say is it's very fishy on a day like that to see a massive order for Nvidia come in. A big order for, say, Bitcoin to start to come in. It's just... I guess technically we would know what that order is because it was such a green bar with it for Nvidia, but I think on Bitcoin I didn't see when that transaction took place. You'd almost want to look at a 1 minute for Bitcoin as well, just to see what that transaction was. Palantir I'm worried about. I am. I'm not saying like I'm worried about it in that I think it's going to absolutely collapse. I'm more worried about it in the sense of like, I think a bigger 2-hour pullback makes a lot of sense right now. But it is squeezing and it's continuing to squeeze. And if you take it, maybe it's a meme stock if you want to say that, right? It might be a meme stock to some people. So I'd be looking at short sale volume and things like that a little bit, but if it's going to continue to squeeze, awesome. I just think if this crosses back through, I'd be a little bit more worried. But if I think it's going to keep squeezing, then I could always just use that as a reason to take profit and just keep leaving runners every time. Like if I had 10, I could see that cross down, take 3. See it cross back up, go, okay, awesome. See it cross back down, take 3. See it cross back up, okay, awesome. See it cross back down, okay, take 4, and then be done. I will be on the road all tomorrow. Have a great weekend and see you Tuesday. Oh, you're going to be on the road? Okay, well, safe travels, Richard. And thank you again for the 500. I'll make sure to take wife out and do something nice for her. So thank you so much. Love you, Richard. Have a great day. You got to spread some love. It's almost that lovey kind of season, you know? That bro love. It never sounds as straight as I want it to. You can maybe potentially see it. I mean, you just want to see if, I mean, a little, this will be a hint. It won't give you exactly what it is, but they kind of stopped fighting the stock. So you wouldn't say that any of this upward price action of the last, what, 2-3 days, the last 3 days has not been anything to do with shorts. That's starting to come down actually. So all of this type of stuff, these few days here, that extension there is not because of short covering, but this, people could have covered in there. They could have doubled down on positions, though. You always want to be careful with that. They could be doubling down on positions. I noticed AMC finally saw that curl down on the 30-minute, turning down. This you want to end up higher by Friday for sure. What even is love? I'll tell you what love is. It's baby, don't hurt me no more. What is love? No? Okay, fine. This is Trading View. We got bromance. Looking over at Tesla, I mean, that thing's just ripping. It's ripping from a great level. Now, this is where we want to see, you know, that 30-minute has to keep making those higher lows. Right? If this thing's gonna squeeze, hey, cool, squeeze. But for now, we want to just be like, all right, we want retest of that 5 on the way up. Retest that 5, go up. Retest that 5. What Palantir is doing, you want Tesla to do now. Stick to trading. Bro, I used to sing in front of like hundreds of people. That's fucked up, man. I'm gonna make my daughter learn the drums. We're gonna make a band, okay? God. I'm already getting her into Pokemon. She's gonna be a nerd and a rock star. Let's freaking go, dude. Yo, so if anyone's watching anime at all, solo leveling is getting kind of insane. The new season was just nuts. Like, I'm just like, what the hell could happen? Karaoke don't count. I've never done karaoke. I've never done karaoke. That's not my thing. I don't like to sing in front of people. I just did it a few times. Got some decent little gigs. I just finished the manga. It gets crazier. Really? Holy crap. I don't know how that can get crazier. Any thoughts on SMCI in the long term? Well, if you want to go long term, we just got to blow up those time frames potentially. As of right now, daily, curled up. Hey, that's great. You're consolidating before you potentially try to take out some highs, so I don't think that's bad. What I would also say is the weekly is turned up. Hey, that's a good thing. All right, we've kind of solidified that higher low on the daily to say, hey, that weekly can keep going in that upward direction. Obviously, if weekly turns down bad, if daily's turn down, we're going to pull back. And then we'd look at monthly and just go, okay, that's down by the center line. So at least this one has some room to potentially see some growth, right? Looking at something like this makes me more excited than, you know, for investing, more excited than this, right? You can see how one looks like a FOMO play if I would get into it now. The other looks like it has potential. But it's just, does that remain good, right? Does the daily confirm down? You know, is my timing all right? You know, with investing, you don't have to really, you know, timing's not the most important thing with investing all the time. I think right now it's important, and you have a period of time where you might want to wait. But yeah, I think SMCI, as far as it goes, like, I can't complain about it much, is all I'm getting at. You got the weekly confirmation. All right, the weekly's extending. Maybe we pull back in these areas and then we try to break through 48. If we do that, we could see a big counter trend move, possibly to go retest all the way up towards here, 71.50. So you're talking about potentially a pretty damn good investment there. That's if everything remains good for a long period of time, but pretty dope. We like to see it. It's not bad. Now that weekly doesn't look good. But it can. You see how it built itself some room? It can curl up again. Oh, wait. No, we want 30 minutes. Sorry about that. Q's reacting directly up to the daily expected move as of right now. I'm trying to see if anything is holding up here, like a 2-hour. No, 2-hour, you kind of violated a lot here. So that's a good cross up. And then daily. Daily looks okay. Looks like we're scooping up, gonna attempt. We haven't violated the high yet. Very interesting though. See if SPY can get there. MDMN. Medina Minerals on the OTC? That can't be right. MDMN. Yeah, this is just pennies and pennies and pennies, but I might not have the right thing. Monumental. That's on the OTC. MNMD, my bad. MNMD. Mind Medicine, okay. This looks like 2-hour pullback. Yeah, 2-hour pullback. It looks like 2-hour pullback, 2-hour trying to confirm. So you're getting some wonkiness as that tries to confirm. But you're still looking for RSI good, right? 5 reasons. RSI good. Is this bar positive? Technically, it's negative. But like if I'm trying to get in the position now, it's taking back the 5. Okay, great. This bar might have said go for now, but that would only be 1, say 2, maybe 3 reasons, including the pullback to the 5-day retest. Very positive trend, so we'll give you 3 reasons there. The 4th reason that kind of tips it over the edge is a positive green bar. A positive green bar like this, a positive bar here taking you above the 5 really gives you that, okay, the momentum is pointing that way. Right now, you're going to get a bunch of volume in a bar that's kind of back and forth, right? It's back and forth. So I would say indecisive as of now. And I'd be looking into the 30-minute and going, okay, does that need to pull back in some way first? Is this just holding up like this, sideways? Okay. Well, if that 30-minute confirms down and then confirms back up, that can be a good trigger for me. Even if it's quick, that can be a good little trigger to make a decision. So I don't think you're in a bad spot here. I just think you only have 3 reasons to take the trade right now. And then you got to be aware that that 30-minute could just cross down right away. Okay, just making sure we touched on that well enough. So yeah, I think the 2 hour just has more things that could make you more comfortable with the trade to happen, but it's kind of like this still. If I see 3 reasons and I'm very confident managing risk or managing position size, managing the trade, all those things, it's like, okay, cool, I can be fine with that, right? I'm kind of fine taking any kind of play as long as I know I understand the goal of the trade. Yeah, I think that's potentially not the worst thing. I mean, you are heading up towards a weekly expected move. You're not there yet. You're heading up towards it. Yeah, monumental. Okay, good. I'm glad that made sense. And the Dax. The Dax. My gosh. First thing is, great upward move. Almost too good. That's like too good. I don't really like how this looks, but it can continue, that's for sure. I mean, the one time you actually got that big pullback moment, you actually made the divergence here. So I'd be looking for that divergence again, which means it's pretty far off from making it. So the DAX could go through a pullback, kind of like here, maybe something like this. Just some kind of little pullback that then turns you back up and then makes that reversal signal again. That's when you experience the big gap down. So this is when you might experience another one. That's all I would really say as far as DAX goes. As far as the daily chart goes, it says, hey, I'm way up there now. As far as the weekly chart goes, it says, yeah, I'm way up there now. And as far as the monthly chart goes, it goes, wow, I am just skyrocketing to the highest point I've ever been. So do I think this is like the best time? Once again, like this is just no. Go test down in these levels, right? Go experience a pretty solid downturn of about 27%, and then I'll think about it. That's what I would say. WB8, you want to see it, Vexen? Yeah, we can go check it out, buddy. Let's go look at Walgreens. Now, Walgreens, you have to realize you might have more time here. You could be trying to set something up, but for the most part, you could have more time here. All right, the 2 hour, you're noticing that divergence. Hey, if that confirms, great. I don't think it looks that good on the RSI. You see how it comes just barely lower than the points, so not the best. So I think this might want to build that base first. Which means what? Well, it means either I need to break out and retest to confirm a higher low, or I need to turn down right now and create that quick divergence right here. I think this would be the best scenario as of right now. Then I think this thing might be turning around. I think this thing might be seeing some kind of, I would say, daily move to the upside. Some kind of move to the upside after that rejection. Do I think it has to take out this high and go make a new one, right? No, the positioning of the MACD is suggesting to be very aware of lower highs. I think the most likely area for that, potentially this 1124, weirdly enough. There's probably a little box right in here that could be some good resistance. I mean, obviously you have resistance on the way up, all the way up pretty much. But I would just be seriously aware of this failing, just due to positioning of the MACD. It's good though, it's really built up, right? It's building up, so I wouldn't be surprised if it tried to take back the 200. I just think it's going to need to do something like this to take it back, right? React to a great level, get that left shoulder, get that right shoulder going in some way, or at least a liquidity grab, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's pretty good one actually. I don't think that's too bad. Well, yeah, you gotta see if there's some. I would still make a plan for reaction due to tariffs in a bit. I would say everyone out there, if you're still watching, and thank you for sticking around. I know we're going past 10 o'clock a little bit for me, but thanks for sticking around. And one thing I would do is anytime you have an event like this, with tariffs too, anytime, this is gonna be important for 2025. Always have a plan. All right, that's going to be big. You're going to get a lot of things going on in 2025. So having a plan for that is probably the best. It's probably the best thing. Be like, all right, this looks bullish, but we do have Trump talking in a bit. So if this does this, then I will react like this. Right? Just doing that little thing can give me an edge over someone who's just like totally surprised by the data. If it is bad, I will look for this and I will react in this way. If it is good, I will look for this and I will react to this in this way. Yeah, there you go. See, just something to react. That's all. But guys, I do have to take off, so thank you guys for being here today. Thank you guys for leaving a thumbs up on the live stream. I do appreciate you guys being here. I know that I've had kind of a wild schedule lately, but I'm trying to really get a hang on it today, so I should be able to produce some good videos for you throughout the rest of the week. So thank you guys for being patient with me. Thank you guys for all the donations today. Give it one more round of applause for Richard. Thank you, Richard. I hope that you have a blessed day and have a good lunch. And I hope all you guys have a good lunch, and you'll have a better lunch if you have a plan for if something goes wrong in a bit. So manage risk, trade like water, make a plan, and we'll be just fine. All right, guys, peace out. Have a good day. Talk to you later.